Before the sun painted the sky, Arman rose each morning to carry his younger sister Aisha on his back to school. Their worn clothes and bare feet drew cruel whispers in the village, but his love for her was greater than shame. Step after step, he bore her weight and the world's judgment, walking with quiet dignity. The road became not just a path to school, but a testament to resilience. The first light of dawn had barely touched the rooftops when Arman stirred from his straw mat. His back ached, his stomach hollow, yet his eyes carried no complaint. Beside him, Aisha slept curled against the thin blanket, her face calm, as if the world had been kind. Arman reached to wake her gently. "Come, little one, school won't wait." Aisha blinked, her small arms wrapping around his neck. She was 9, frail from hunger, and her legs had never carried her far without trembling. To her, the path to school was a mountain. To him, it was destiny. He bent low, letting her climb onto his back, her thin legs tightening around him. The village was stirring now. Roosters crowed, pots clanged, and smoke rose from clay ovens. But what followed them was not warmth. Whispers trailed behind as they stepped. Onto the dirt road. Look at them, ragged as beggars. A boy carrying a girl like a donkey. They don't belong in a school meant for proper children. Arman kept walking, jaw clenched, his bare feet sinking into the dust. His shirt was torn at the shoulder, patched too many times to count. Aisha pressed her face against him, pretending not to hear, but he felt her tears dampen his collar. He straightened his back, though every step burned. "Don't cry," he whispered. "One day, you'll walk through those gates without fear. You'll sit with the others. You'll learn. I'll carry you until that day comes." The road to school stretched long, a mile of uneven stones, puddles from last night's rain, thorns scratching his ankles. Other children passed by, laughing with their books clutched in clean hands. Some slowed, pointing. "Does your sister have no feet? Maybe he wants everyone to see how poor they are." Arman said nothing. Silence was his armor. Each insult only pressed him forward. He adjusted Aisha higher on his back, shielding her from their words. His strength was not in defiance, but in endurance. By the time they reached the schoolyard, his shirt was soaked and his arms trembled. He lowered Aisha gently to the ground, brushing her hair from her eyes. "Go," he said softly, forcing a smile. "Learn something new today. Bring the world back to me." She nodded, though her lips quivered, and walked toward the gate. Children stared. Some laughed. Teachers glanced but did not intervene. Arman stood at the edge of the yard, too poor to enter, but unbroken. The bell rang. Aisha disappeared inside. He remained, back straight, carrying an invisible weight heavier than his sister, carrying the dignity they tried to strip away. Yet that day, as the whispers grew louder, he wondered how long silent resilience could fight against cruelty. The schoolyard was alive with chatter, bright voices echoing against crumbling walls. Children spilled into the courtyard, their uniforms crisp, their satchels full of books. Aisha walked among them with lowered eyes, clutching a notebook worn thin, her dress faded from too many washings. From the other side of the fence, Arman watched. He stood barefoot in the dust, pretending he belonged there, though no desk inside bore his name. Every laugh that floated from the classroom was a sound he longed to be part of. But for Aisha's sake, he smiled, waving each time she dared glance his way. At first, the whispers were just daggers in the air. Her brother waits like a stray dog every day. She wears the same dress again? Maybe he carries her because they want pity. Aisha pressed her lips together, forcing herself not to cry. But humiliation grows louder when ignored. That afternoon, during arithmetic, the teacher asked her to read from the blackboard. As she stood, one boy sneered loud enough for the room to hear. Maybe her brother should read it for her, since he's always standing there staring like a fool. The class erupted in laughter. Chairs scraped, palms slapped against desks. Even the teacher, instead of silencing them, let his gaze drift past Aisha to the boy outside the window, Arman. For a moment, silence fell, and all eyes followed. There he was, leaning against the wall, thin arms crossed, pretending he didn't hear. But he did. Every word sliced him open. Aisha's voice cracked as she tried to speak. The chalk letters blurred through her tears. The laughter returned, harsher this time, filling every corner of the room. Her small shoulders shook, but she forced herself to finish, clinging to the board as though it might keep her standing. Outside, Arman's fists clenched until his nails dug into his palms. His pride screamed to storm in, to defend her, to silence them all. But his poverty chained him. He stayed rooted, carrying the insult as if it were a physical weight, heavier than his sister ever was on his back. When the bell rang, children spilled out, still chuckling, some tossing glances his way. Aisha rushed to him, her eyes red, her notebook clutched to her chest. He knelt, brushing away her tears with rough hands. "Don't let them steal your light," he whispered. "I lost mine, but I won't let them take yours." She nodded weakly, but her silence carried the echo of shame. That day, as the sun dipped low and the road home stretched long, Arman walked with his jaw set and his heart burning. He had swallowed his pride once more, but deep inside, a vow hardened like stone. The road shimmered with heat, the air thick with dust that clung to Arman's skin. Each step jolted through his tired legs, yet he held Aisha firm against his back, her arms wrapped tightly around his shoulders. She tried to shade his neck with the edge of her scarf, whispering, "You're tired, Pi. Rest a little." But Arman shook his head, forcing a smile. "If I stop, you'll be late. Keep holding on." The world around them blurred. Dry fields stretched endless, the occasional goat wandered across the road. Then, from behind, the low hum of an engine broke the monotony. A black luxury car, polished like obsidian, slowed and drew beside them. Its windows gleamed, reflecting their ragged figures back at them like a cruel mirror. The backseat window slid down with a soft mechanical sigh. Inside sat a man, his hair touched with silver, his suit crisp, a wristwatch glinting in the sun. But it was not his wealth that stilled Arman's steps. It was his gaze. Unlike the villagers' mocking stares, this man's eyes carried curiosity, and something unspoken. For a long moment, silence stretched between them. The car idled, the heat radiating off its hood, while Arman shifted uneasily, sweat dripping from his brow. Finally, the man's voice, calm yet heavy, broke through. "Why, do you carry her every day?" Arman hesitated, his throat dry. Pride warred with exhaustion. He could lie, beg, or stay silent. But instead, his voice came steady, low, each word soaked in truth. "Because her legs can't take her far, but her dreams can, and I won't let the world laugh her out of them." The man's brows drew together. Aisha peeked shyly over Arman's shoulder, her face flushed, her eyes wide. The driver shifted, impatient, but the stranger lifted a hand, signaling him to wait. His gaze never left the boy. Arman adjusted Aisha's weight, preparing to continue walking. "We don't need your pity, Sahib," he added softly. "Just let us pass." The stranger leaned back in his seat, studying them with a silence that seemed to stretch far beyond the moment. His expression revealed nothing, but his eyes lingered as though memorizing the boy's words. The sweat, the defiance, then, without warning, the tinted glass slid back up, and the car rolled forward slowly, leaving behind a trail of dust. Arman stood frozen, breath shallow, staring at the disappearing vehicle. He did not know whether the silence meant dismissal, or the beginning of something he could not yet imagine. Days passed after the car disappeared, leaving only dust on the road and questions in Arman's heart. He did not expect to see it again. Yet one morning, as he bent to lift Aisha onto his back, the same black car returned, stopping at their doorstep. The stranger stepped out this time. His suit was simple now, his shoes coated in village dust. He looked at Arman not as a beggar, not as a burden, but as if he saw himself in the boy's weary frame. "I was once where you are," he said quietly, his voice carrying the weight of memory. "I too walked barefoot. I too was laughed at for dreaming above my station. But someone gave me a hand when I could not climb alone." Arman's chest tightened. Aisha clutched his sleeve, her eyes wide with hope and fear. The man continued, "Let me be that hand for you." He extended an envelope. Inside were papers of sponsorship, school admission letters, and a promise far heavier than money. "Both of you will study. Uniforms, books, meals, all arranged. Not as charity, but as an investment. Because I believe in what you can become." Arman hesitated. Pride clawed at him. He remembered the taunts, the laughter, the way the world twisted kindness into pity. But when he looked at Aisha, whose dreams had been his burden, he saw not weakness, but the chance to finally let her soar. Slowly, he bowed his head. "We will not waste it," he whispered. The following week, for the first time, Arman did not stand outside the schoolyard. He walked through its gates, his sister's hand in his, both of them wearing crisp uniforms that seemed to shine brighter than the morning sun. Heads turned. The same children who had mocked them fell silent, their laughter swallowed. In the classroom, Arman sat beside Aisha. The chalkboard no longer separated him from knowledge. When he opened his new notebook, the pages smelled of possibility. From the window, villagers gathered, whispering in awe. Where once they had sneered, now they watched, unable to ignore the shift in the air. That evening, as the siblings walked home, this time side by side, Not one carried on the other's back, Arman looked to the horizon. His burden had not vanished. It had transformed into wings,